Hello and welcome to episode 1197 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, July 21st. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I haven't kicked any coolers today. Not yet, at least. We'll see how I make it through this podcast.
Did anybody else's cooler kick make you want to kick a cooler?
Oh my god, dude. It is so frustrating. I mean,
Slightly, slightly frustrating. You
uh,
could you could say maybe a little.
we're
Let's get
gonna
right
talk
into it.
about it, right?
No,
Yeah.
let's dive
Yeah.
right into it. We're doing news, doing a little three up, three down. Talk about a few key Week 18 two steps that you might be interested in, depending on your league size. Let's start with the news. Jared Kelnick, broken foot, going to be out for a while. He kicked a cooler because he got struck out by Johan Duran, like one of the best pitchers in the universe. Like what are we doing here, man? And this goes back to something that you've highlighted before, that one of your big concerns about Kelnick was kind of the mental piece to kind of keep himself in check. He lets the highs kind of overtake him on the positive, but then the lows overtake him on the negative. He doesn't kind of have that even keel. And it's hard to make too many judgments of a guy based on just the stuff that we see. But even last year during the struggles, you see him slamming his bat, beating himself up, kind of having that outward expression. And then here, again, what are you kicking a cooler for? Yeah, he didn't come through against one of the best pitchers in the world. BFD. So now you got a broken foot, and he was already struggling a bit. Where you at on Kelnick now? You cutting him? Because I know you still got him in a few spots, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. He's probably like my third or fourth most rostered player.
Mm-hmm.
Um no, I think he's a cut. On top of the fact that he's probably going to miss at least a month, if not. He could miss the vast
6 to 8,
majority,
you would
yeah, of the
think.
rest of the season. So, and we only have like 10 weeks left. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
thereabouts.
So
Yeah.
probably nine, or probably 9.5, 10 weeks. So, um, yeah, I think at this point, if he misses 6 of those 9 weeks, that is too much of the season. And what is he
Absolutely.
when he comes back? Like, coming back off a broken foot, are you going to run? Okay, well, now you're not going to run. How reliable are you in terms of like being able to actually make enough contact? Because
Can you
that's been
plant
the
and get
issue.
into your
Yeah.
power? You know, he
Hmm.
has one homer, Jared Kelnick does, in his last 150 plate appearances as well.
Hmm.
So, like, that's the fact of the matter that we really have to hit on as well, is that Kelnick was terrible before this. And so this compounds things, and that's why I think it makes it a pretty easy cut,
Yeah.
more or less everywhere. I think AL only you try to hold because there's not going to be too much out there, and obviously your IL situations matter. We do start first and foremost talking in the NFBC world. You don't have IL spots, so that's a cut. Where you have ILs, you can put Kelnick there, but if you've got some superstars there already that you're waiting on, like I'm trying to think of some guys that are like, you got
Like I've
Kershaw and
got Cedric
Sale,
Mullins,
you got
like who just won
Cedric.
the yeah,
There's
like
so many guys that are going to live on those spots over a Kelnick if you only have two, three IL
even
spots. So he's
even
an easy cut.
borderline players. Because I think Kelnick was a borderline cut in 12s and 15s
Easily,
already.
yes,
So
even before
um,
this.
yeah, so you add in the injury now. I think he's a really really easy cut in, like you said, just about every format.
Yep, I think that's the move here. Let's talk about the guy who was called up to maybe play some in his stead. Not a direct replacement here, Cade Marlowe. I do think it'll improve the playing time of AJ Pollock and Dylan Moore as well. But Marlowe's a lefty, and both those guys are righties, so you could still see a platoon situation. Marlowe did start yesterday, batting eighth and playing left field. Cade Marlowe's 26 years old, and you might get excited when I tell you he had 11 homers, 25 steals at AAA, sure. But it was in the PCL where offensive numbers are just off the charts in general. I think they're higher than even normal this year. Put up a 793 OPS, which you're like, hey, that's not too bad. That's 14% below league average. So I'm not putting too much stock in what Cade Marlowe did at AAA at age 26. 25% K rate there, that's pretty high. You're going to bring that to the majors, it's probably going to be closer to a 30% mark. I like the 25 steals on 29 attempts, but is there anything that Cade Marlowe does that has you interested in anything but like an AL only? If that, by the way.
Maybe a cheap stolen base source. Like, could he potentially be like Jake McCarthy ish was, last year? Um, I mean, I guess, but ultimately, there were already rumors after the Kelnick news broke that the Mariners started reaching out to teams like the Mets for Mark Canha and
Well, I
other
should talk about
guys.
him in a moment
Yeah,
because they had an IL. Actually, I can move that up. We can bring up Starling Marte heading to the IL, and that opens some Mark Canha extra playing time there. I mean, he plays pretty consistently, but now with that, he and Pham can play every single day. Pham's been obviously raking batting too. He had a couple days out due to injury, but Canha can play more. Maybe DJ Stewart gets some burn there against the occasional righty. I don't know, but where you at on Canha? Would you rather he be traded? Do you like him still with the Mets? He has 6 homers, 7 steals, a 109 WRC plus. It's pretty bland, but there is some deep league viability there. Do you like Canha as an everyday starter?
nah. I mean, not really. Like, I mean, he's played 80 games and 6 home runs, 7 stolen bases. Like, that's just not. It's not enough fantasy juice for me to really care about. And unfortunately, like all the teams that really are looking at trading for him are mostly teams in not very good parks. You know, Seattle's not a very good park. Like, and
Yeah,
if he was going to Cincinnati, I'd be like, okay, well, hey, maybe there's a
that's the
little
last
extra
thing they
juice
need.
there. But like, they don't need a Mark Canha. No, I don't think Canha is very interesting. It's a little bit of a bummer because I think they would have liked to trade Starling Marte.
Yeah.
Um, and Tommy Pham got hurt yesterday.
Hey, wait, he
So,
got hurt
like,
again? Because he
yeah,
just came back from a couple of days, and like I shouldn't say it that
he
so that
re-aggravated the groin
surprisingly.
issue. Yeah,
Okay,
so um,
so
no, he said he's like, it's not super serious. They asked him if he was gonna miss or if he's gonna avoid the IL, and he goes, I don't know yet.
and then he
So
slapped the reporter for asking.
yeah, exactly.
I
He said,
can't,
stop stashing people on your IL.
Yeah, Tommy Pham gets mentioned. We're gonna bring up the slap. That's still gonna be a
Absolutely,
thing for a little while. Let's just be honest with it. So,
probably be a
Mart,
thing for the rest of his career. I mean, at this point.
that's true. That's absolutely true. With Marte, is he somebody you're hanging on to?
Um,
Let me pull up the exact
I
things here. I'm
haven't.
sorry.
Yeah, I
Oh, it's
mean,
it's
I haven't.
migraines. So it's one of those nebulous
Oh,
things.
I mean, I think I probably would try. You know,
24
he,
stolen bases. I think you gotta. He,
yeah,
he, he takes a priority spot. Marte is somebody I hold over Kelnick, for
yeah,
example.
absolutely.
So I think if you're looking at stuff like that, you try to hang on to Marte as long as you can. You never know with something like migraines; it can be something that lingers, causes a lot of problems, or clears up in a week, and he's back on.
Hmm.
After the 10-day minimum stay. So be careful there. Jordan Alvarez coming back on Monday for the Astros. What do you think this does to the playing time cascade there? And I will mention that Yainer Diaz has caught 2 of his last 3 starts. I wonder if that's laying the groundwork for
Hmm.
him to play more behind the dish because not only is Maldonado, a dreadful hitter, his framing numbers this year aren't great. Now I know Houston's not a team that's going to overrate a single half season defensive sample. They know how they feel about their catcher, and if he has pitchers that trust him, I think he'll still play. I don't think Maldonado's out, but I do wonder if this is, like I said, laying the groundwork for Yainer Diaz to catch a bit more when Alvarez gets back. But how do you see the playing time shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, I think Maldonado loses time. I think Yainer Diaz loses a little bit of time um, because I just don't think they want to put Jordan in the outfield very often.
I think
Um,
so. I think that's
so,
fair.
uh, like I said when we were talking about Yainer Diaz like a month ago, like he needs to throw Maldonado under a bus. I still stand by that statement. So
Say that
it's
last part again. I'm sorry.
he needs to throw Maldonado under a bus, like
Oh
literally
yeah,
under a bus.
yeah,
Like
yeah, 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 yeah. Like again, he's third to last in framing, which is supposed to be Maldonado's
mhm,
strong suit. I don't know how noisy those numbers are. I know a lot of defensive numbers are noisy in half year samples, small samples. But again, that's supposed to be the strength of Maldonado. And here he is with the likes of Shea Langoliers, Elias Diaz. They're down there at the bottom. Real Muto actually down there as well. William Contreras, the Milwaukee catching compound, does it again, man. They could turn me into a great catcher. They are unbelievable with that. So
the only thing on Maldonado's Statcast page that is not blue is his pop time.
Oh yeah,
Everything else
that makes
is
sense.
like
Yep.
just gross.
That doesn't even surprise me there. But you're not making any preemptive moves with Diaz, right? Because we've got Yainer Diaz as a C2 in a lot of formats. I think we can afford a little loss of playing time. He's cooled down a little bit too. But I'm going to hold here for a while. I'm not going to make any preemptive moves. Are you with Diaz?
No, I mean I can't imagine that a catcher's on my wire that makes the sense to move
Yeah.
on. I mean,
I mean,
I guess someone drops Wilson Contreras or someone drops like I don't know MJ Melendez or something like
that'd be a
that.
one catcher league anyway, where you're probably
Yeah,
not even having Diaz.
yeah.
Maybe you're riding him when he was super hot in a one catcher league. Um, yeah, that's the only thing I could think. And he's been a little. He's just got a handful of hits since the break. Only 4 games. We're not going to analyze that in any tangible way. But yeah, obviously Alvarez coming back, going to get him in your lineup. I think you stick with Diaz. We're going to talk about another guy who's been playing a lot and been killing it in 3 up, 3 down. I don't think he's going to lose any playing time with this, but I'm curious if you feel like one of their outfielders might lose some time just with the way things are going to shuffle around.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Crawford's going to head to the IL. Now, he wasn't super fantasy relevant, probably deeper leagues. And so the guy that could replace him here is also going to be more of a deep league play. Casey Schmidt, we talked about him a long time ago because he hit the ground running when he first got called up. It was clearly a flash in the pan. It was a bunch of hits, high BABIP. But he's going to be the shortstop now. Is there any like NL only deep mixer, any intrigue there, or do you have to go to another team to find your replacement if you were still running Crawford out there?
I mean, he's probably already rostered in NL only.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I guess you pick him up if he is available in your NL only because he's gonna play every day. But no, he's not very good.
it's a 59 WRC plus now for Schmidt. And again, he started off on fire for like I don't know 7 or 8 games and has completely come crashing down. Casey Schmidt.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I don't think you want to necessarily look. And I agree. Probably rostered in some NL onlys. Maybe shouldn't be though. Maybe those teams should check in on him.
He's just a younger version of Brandon Crawford, which is not a very good offensive player that plays really good defense. So he's going to play regularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not something you really want in fantasy.
His last 25 games for Casey Schmidt, just casual 107, 242, 125 line. It's been a little bit rough. So yeah, I think you look elsewhere there. Staying in the Bay, Ryan Noda got hit in the face apparently with a ball in pregame warmups, which fractured his jaw, and he still played and raked in the game. And then he's like, "Oh, dude, I think my face is broken." I don't know if he said it like that, but my guess is if you still play, you're kind of
with a broken jaw,
face. Yeah. You're kind of a dude, bro. Who's like, "Oh, it's broken. Okay, I guess I'll come out. That sucks." I don't know if Ryan Noda's a surfer dude, but I'm just imagining.
I was thinking more like a caveman. Face hurt.
Face hurt, face fat, ouchers.
Face broke.
Baseball hit face, out your face.
Yeah, so he's a big burly dude. It's a lot of home runs.
Yeah, I like that. He probably smart as hell, and he's just like, no, I'm just not a bitch. And so when I break my face,
we're gonna find out he went to Yale or something.
Yeah, he's like, don't be talking shit about me. I'm smart. And I knew what I was doing. I took a calculated risk, and I still dominated with my broken face. But he was actually, finding some footing here. 11 homers, 794 OPS for Noda. He was finding some mixed league viability as a fill-in, first or outfield. So that's kind of a bummer. This does open a clear path for Tyler Soderstrom now, who is going to call it up. He's a catcher who doesn't catch. In fact, I don't even know if he qualifies at catcher. I think we talked about that the other day, where on
only on Yahoo.
Yeah, and on FBC, his profile says C, but his eligible positions is only first base. So they trick you there. He's going to play all the time now, and it will also open up Jordan Diaz for some playing time. And he bats third every day. I know it's third for Oakland, but I'm curious if either of those guys hit more of a 12, 15-team radar for you. I think Soderstrom already had some 15-team appeal, but where do you stand on them now that some extra playing time opens up? Let's start with Soderstrom.
Well, Ryan Noda went to the University of Cincinnati.
Okay, I mean that's
not a bad school.
Yeah, not a bad school at all. So maybe not a caveman, and like I said, just tough as hell, and said I can still play even with my busted jaw.
I think Soderstrom, if you need power, I think like he's a guy that you should be taking a look at. I mean, he's going to play every day.
Do you like him more than Monday based on this? Because again, we talked about him on Monday. We talked
No,
about his power, but there is
I,
some extra PT here, I think.
I think he was going to play either way. I don't think you bring
Okay.
up a guy like Soderstrom unless you think he's going to be a part of your everyday lineup. And in Oakland, I mean, anybody could be part of your everyday lineup. I mean we are going to talk about Jordan Diaz. He's a part of the everyday lineup. So,
Yeah, is he doing anything for you?
no, the
He
the
bats third
underlying
every day.
the underlying skills on Jordan Diaz are atrocious. I know,
Okay.
like people are like, oh look, he's got power and he's not striking out too much. You look at like the underlying numbers, and I'll bring them up real quick, so I'm not just talking out my ass.
You just described Michael Franco. Is he Michael Francoing?
Oh, he's total. I mean, this
Because
is
for
that
years we took his like quality K rate with some pop, and I will speak for myself. I won't tell everyone else that they made this mistake. But for years I was like, oh, Michael Franco, he's going to pair this ability to make contact consistently with the power and eventually be great, and he was not great. So
yeah.
it sounds like that's what Jordan Diaz is doing.
Yeah, Jordan Diaz has a 41.6% O swing and a 15.5% swing and strike rate. Right now, he's making a ton of and he's just a guy who he swings all the time. He's got an almost 80% zone swing rate.
God damn.
Like he's making a lot of contact in the zone. Like that's a really, really good thing. And maybe he can outrun some of the underlying numbers for a while, but I think eventually they catch back up to him. It's very similar to like the profile we saw that had us fading Michael Harris coming into the year. And so he could have a Michael Harris-ish type kind of, I mean, obviously he's a little bit different player, but he could have that kind of like hot and cold stretches where like, hey, he's on fire for a few weeks and we've already seen it since he's been up. He had 3 home run game and then, went like 0 for 12 or something like that.
Yeah, Diaz had a 3 homer game for half of his home run total thus far. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Harris and hot and cold. I mean, look at his April, May, where he's like under 500 OPS or very close to. And then he's been like a mid 900s since June. Like Michael Harris, if you stuck with him, he's come around. If you cut him, I feel bad because you didn't get any of the goodness. But it was really rough there into May. Of course, if you drafted Michael Harris, I think you had to write it out. Even though both of us were skeptical, I don't think we were telling anybody to cut.
No, I was telling people to pick him up. I mean, it's like
once he became a free agent, you got to steal him.
When people started dropping him off their teams, like you got to go out and get a guy who has that kind of ability, especially a guy who plays that good of defense, right?
Absolutely.
Like, Michael Harris is. And they just gave him a fucking contract, like
they weren't just gonna quit him off of a month and a half of cold work. So absolutely agree there. So Soderstrom, nothing really changes. If you liked him Monday, you should still like him. Jordan Diaz, it's a little bit of fool's gold. If you need him in like an AL only, I mean he's probably already rostered, a number 3 hitter. Even on
if you want to try to ride the hot streak, like go ahead, but like the hot streak will end. Like that's just
I think that's totally fair. All right, let's talk 3 up, 3 down. We're doing hitters, and then we'll get into some pitchers with 2-step. Mickey Moniak. Have you been paying attention to this? Because this kind of snuck up on me when I was seeing these numbers here. 7 homers, 333 average, 374 OBP, and 602 slug in his last 115 plate appearances since June 1st. I mean, Mickey Moniak is a former number 1 overall pick, so I know that gives him some cachet to where you're like, hey, this dude is out here raking. There's something here. Do you see something? I mean, even the composite numbers, there's a 165 OPS plus with 11 homers, 3 steals. Obviously, the bulk of that has come since June 1st. Is he arriving? Is Mickey Moniak arriving here?
I think so. I mean, yes and no. I mean,
it's a straight platoon, I should mention, by the way. 21 plate appearances against lefties, and they're god-awful. He is a righty destroyer.
And the underlying skills are atrocious. Like, I mean, so like, I think he's gonna play pretty regularly. He's obviously not going to be one of the guys the Angels trade at the deadline if they decide to sell. But like, I don't know. He's striking out at a 30% rate, and it should be actually worse than that. He's got an over 20% swing and strike rate. His O swing is almost 50%. and his zone contact is under 80%, which is just atrocious. So, like the he has been running extremely hot, BABIP to fucking
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need to give a content warning before we give this BABIP? Because it's like really
yeah,
sexy. It's like really hot.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
just don't know if we should be saying such lewd things this morning. But I'm gonna say it, okay? Trigger warning. It's a 470 BABIP against righties in
yeah.
144 plate appearances, dude. That's bananas for Moniak here. We're talking about Mickey Moniak, #1 overall pick from 2016, finding some foot. I'm happy about this. Like I want to see some success from him, but I don't think I'm like falling
And
for it.
remember too, like Moniak was while he was the #1 overall pick, it was because the Phillies wanted to go under slot. Like he wasn't even a top 10 prospect in that draft.
And it wasn't a great draft. You can look back on
Mhm.
it now, and if you get perfect knowledge, I don't think you can tell them to go in too many ways that you're like, you
Yeah.
stupid idiots. Nick Senzel was the #2 pick, Ian Anderson, Riley Pint, Corey Ray. That's the top 5. And I don't think you can really go too much further when you're saying like to redo these picks. You can't go all the way down to Will Smith at pick 32 and say they should have taken him because nobody knew Will Smith was going to be that
Yeah.
good, or else he'd have been a higher pick probably.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't think that they completely botched it. He is the second best of those top 5 with Ian Anderson's early work, giving him 3.6 WAR to lead the top 5 from 2016. So you are right to point out though that he wasn't like some
Yeah.
ironclad 1-1
Mhm.
superstar.
Mhm.
So you are riding this though, or not even grabbing it in like 12s and 10s where Moniak's going to have availability? Because in 15s he's being rostered.
Yeah, I mean the only place in a 10 that I would think about picking him up if he's still available is like maybe trying to flip him. Like pick him up and like immediately put him on a trade block, package him with someone else. I think you've probably missed the majority of the goodness. So, and
All righties next week. I will point out on Moniak and the
so maybe you
Angels.
pick him up for the week and you go for it. I think he's just one of those guys that he could go like 1 for 20 in his next 20 plate appearances,
Easily,
and I wouldn't
and
be
that would just
surprised.
be standard regression off of such a crazy BABIP, and so
Yeah.
that's why it's tough to fully buy in. But if you got to ride it as like a band-aid, I totally get it. But you should be looking to upgrade him. Let's talk about your Giants again here, and Wilmer Flores, another one that really surprised me, where I was like, I did not know he was kind of off the charts since returning from the IL. 389, 424, 741 with 5 homers in 59 plate appearances since coming back for Wilmer Flores. Is this just a hot streak, or is he playing some of his best ball right now, akin to what we saw from him back in the 2020 season with the Giants, which was of course only 55 games, so it's not even a full season. Where are you at on Wilmer?
I mean, a lot of this is inflated by one really big day.
Okay.
He had 3 home runs in one day. If you look at the game log, you're like, what do you mean? He had 2 home runs one day and 1 home run the day before, but the home run actually came on that same day because it was
Oh,
the finishing of the suspended
that's
game.
right. That's right.
So like he had, 3 of those 5 home runs are from just like one day in Cincinnati.
Yeah, he actually hit
Um,
4 homers in Cincy. I didn't
yeah,
notice the breakdown there. I will say, if take off the Cincy series, um, even though that seems unfair because he did so much great work there. But if you take that off and you still just look at what he's done in the 12 games other than that, he still has an 877 OPS. That's more batting average fueled, but the power has definitely come from the Cincy run.
yeah. The problem is, even with the Giants being a little nicked up right now, is he's still going to be on the short side of a platoon. And
Oh, really? He's not even playing against righties that much, Wilmer
I,
Flores?
I mean, he has been this week, but it's just been because he's hot and they're missing guys. So
True.
I think once guys start getting healthy, I think he'll be back into that short side of a platoon. So, JD Davis was nicked up, and Wade Lamont Jr. was nicked up. So,
Lamont Wade Jr.
I'm sorry. Wow, it is way too early in the morning.
I mean,
Can't
yeah,
get my
you
own
get up at like
teams in, right?
5:30
Yeah.
to do this. So let's just be fair here. Now, Wilmer is 62% rostered in the main event. Should that be higher? That's 15 team.
Yeah, probably because he's multi-positional eligible. So,
First, second,
like,
third.
guys like that are just so valuable when, like, for instance, like, I lost both Kelnick and Mullins this week. After rosters locked for the first half of the week. So like the ability to move a guy, that might be outfield eligible for my UT spot into the outfield and then move Wilmer Flores into my UT spot or into a corner infield spot is really valuable. So like, yeah, his eligibility, but the overall talent level, like he should be your bench bat. He should be a bench bat that you move in when you need, not in your regular lineup.
That's a great way to put it with regards to Wilmer Flores. 15 team Swiss Army knife definitely helps things with being able to move guys around so that you can always make a good roster move. I've got Brendan Donovan who's fulfilling that while also raking, even though you mentioned to me offline before we started, he needs TJ, and yet that hasn't slowed him from hitting at
They haven't
all.
announced he needs TJ, but he has been dealing with an elbow issue. And that's why he can't throw right now.
Yeah, he's fully
only
de-aging.
Yeah, so and he's supposed to get a second opinion or something this later this week, so or maybe early next week. So if the Cardinals fall out, Brendan Donovan probably is done.
No, don't say that. I need him, man.
The Cardinals are also like on fire right now.
They're Cardinalsing. They're Cardinalsing right now.
The moment I buried them and said, "Oh, they're gonna start, selling pieces," they go on a hot streak that might get them. It probably won't get them back in contention.
I mean, it has a good chance to, though. They have enough. They have as much talent as anybody in that division.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like we're not even going to be surprised if they come all the way back.
They're a couple starting pitchers away from like legit being a really great team. Like
I think Lance Lynn returning is the perfect fit for them.
Yeah,
I really do. That park would help stifle some of the homers.
The only problem is, would they want to pick up his option, and do they want to bring in another pitcher? Because all 5 of their pitchers are not under contract next year. I think they want to bring in. I think they want to bring in someone with control. I think they're really looking at 2024. So
we counted. They have 10 games left before the break, or before the deadline rather. And if they go 7-3 in them, along with the 6-game winning streak that they've already got, I don't think they're selling the Jack Flaherty and company. I don't see it. They would have to stick with it and push.
Unless they're getting a huge return, which they could because
the market's tight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I totally agree with that, but we'll keep an eye on the cards there. But that was Wilmer Flores. Last one in 3 up, Chas McCormick. Dude is blazing hot. Now, looking at him since June 1st, we've got a 127 plate appearance sample with 346, 433, 618, 8 homers, 6 steals. That is a 40-30 pace. That's pretty insane. He has hits in 14 of his last 15 games. Ton of multi-hit games in that run. Chas McCormick is absolutely on fire right now. And overall, like, he had a bad May, but it was a pretty decent April, and then he's been great since June 1st. Overall, it's a pretty damn good season. A 903 OPS with 12 homers, 10 steals. Love what McCormick is doing, and I don't see how he comes out of the lineup. Going back to the Alvarez return here, I want to bring up McCormick in a way to kind of ask you if you have any concerns about Corey Julks vis-a-vis the Alvarez return pushing Julks out of some playing time, because he himself has been playing well, but is McCormick too dialed in to sit at all? And thus, when Alvarez plays left field, which will be rare, I agree, but then do they turn to Julks being the sit now?
I mean, I think they could, just because Julks isn't a very good defender, and I think they would rather have like maybe sacrifice a little bit of offense at the bottom of the lineup, and bring in Jake Myers. So I think it's definitely plausible that that Julks loses some playing time. But I mean, it's not like this isn't the Astros team of old that we've seen a lot over the last few years, where they're just stacked top to bottom. So I mean, I think they're going to ride the high end a little bit, but
think everyone still kind of plays then.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, they just mix and match the best they can.
Okay, let's pivot back to McCormick then. Part of this hot streak has been helped by the schedule. In fact, 4 of the last 5 have been against lefties, and he certainly does his best work against lefties, does Chas McCormick. But again, you can't really poke too many holes in the overall performance. Still has an 834 with 8 homers and 9 steals against righties in 157 plate appearances. How do you feel specifically about him? Because there's still some 12 and 15 team availability on McCormick, and I'm wondering if that availability should drop a little bit.
I mean, he's just getting really, really lucky. He's got
You're
a
getting lucky.
yeah, he's got a 470 BABIP since the beginning of the month of June. It's a 352 BABIP on the year. You know, he's hitting 286, but the XBA is 241. Like making below average zone contact around 80%. So no, like this isn't gonna continue. But I guess you ride the hot streak, especially because he's a good defensive player. So like he should get regular playing time either way. But I think he's one of the guys that once he cools down, he goes back to being in like that. Hey, I'm gonna play, 3 out of every 5 games type thing.
Okay, so you do worry that there could be some playing time dry up for somebody like
Mm-hmm.
McCormick. Okay, well we'll see on that. I do like that he offers some nice power and speed though, and he's a guy I
Yeah.
wrote up in the forecaster, and I was hoping that with the new rules he could leverage some of his speed. He had some good speed metrics, but he wasn't running very well. He was 8 for 13 on the bases in 21 and 22, and I was like, this guy is a better base runner. So I am doing a little bit of a back pat on that one because he's 10 for 11. So I feel good that I saw some potential improvements there for McCormick if he was just a bit smarter with his choices because he had the speed to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him playing. And then Jolks in 15. You holding?
I don't
'Cause he
think you
has
need
17
to.
steals, by the way.
Oh, 17 steals. Wow.
15, excuse me, but still a decent number there for Jolks.
That's
Is
interesting.
that too hard to give up? And maybe you have to wait and see. And if the playing time really dries up, maybe you cut him. I think maybe you don't preemptively cut Jolks.
It's so hard because like he's a guy I've cut like 3 or 4 times.
He's been
in
on
league.
every
Like,
team
yeah.
in every league so far, it seems, right? He's bounced around a ton.
And he is one of those guys where like you think, oh, he's fast, so like, hey, he should be a good defensive player. But like he is not a good defensive player. So
Speed alone can only do so much
it's
defensively.
the Malik Smith thing where like, hey,
Yep.
I can get to the ball, but I still can't figure out how to, find it.
I can get anywhere in the outfield. I don't take the best routes there, though, right? Yeah, stuff like that. So you're holding Jokes at least until we see what's what, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
But I can also
you
understand.
should.
The hard part is like we've had a lot of outfield injuries recently, so like there's just not as much on the wire than there was a month ago.
Yeah. So maybe just ride it out with Jokes. He's been a nice little find for those of you that got him when Alvarez was out. He has 9 steals since June 1st, and we'll just kind of see what happens with his PT before you make a move
Why don't I
there.
give you like a would you rather from
Yeah,
some of
let's
the
do that.
guys that are
Let's do that.
available in my main event?
Okay.
Will Brennan or Corey Jolks?
Jokes.
Yeah, I just think the fantasy juice is better, right? I mean, unless you need batting average,
Which is so
Um,
hard to pick up for.
is same answer on Mark Canha.
Yeah, I think, they do so like they both kind of do a little power, a little speed, but I think it's more speed from Jolks and that's more high impact, whereas Canha, as we talked earlier, just kind of is, right? He's just kind of decent.
Mm-hmm. And then you really get into the dregs. Your boy Dylan Carlson, who
Yeah, I mean,
is
I
out of
love
a job
DC,
at this point. I
but
mean, like,
exactly. Yeah, I got to stick
um,
with Jolks there.
Kevin Kiermaier, who's been pretty decent this
Yes,
year.
he has. And yet he's available every week. He's on my list every week as like the third or fourth guy. I always get somebody before him. So he goes back on the list again. 4 homers, 11 steals. His playing time's a bit more locked. He is a brilliant defender, Kevin Kiermaier
Mhm.
is. I could see making that move if I
I
am
think
really
I go
worried about
Kiermaier.
Jokes. Yeah, I can see that because I think going forward, the PT is going to be in favor of Kiermaier for sure, barring another injury that would open it for Jokes, but we don't know that right now. So yeah, I think I'm going to go Kiermaier.
What about Alex Call, who's been hot?
He intrigued me with Washington at different parts earlier in the year, especially when he was batting leadoff. He's been the everyday 9 hitter, which you don't love, but again, some pop, some speed. I'm still going to lean Jolks, but I'm close on that one. And if PT is the biggest issue and I just need the volume, I think you lean Call by a shred there.
And then I mean, it's just a bunch of like
Randos.
Oh yeah, Rand. The only guy that I think maybe we might be interested in is Edward Olivares,
Oh
who
yeah,
is
you
a
you
little bit
know
under owned because he just came off the IL.
you know I can't quit him. I actually, interestingly enough, though, I did quit him. I cut him last week
Yeah,
because there was no freaking timetable. Now, I'm not that mad about that, right? Like, I'm kind of referencing how people cut CJ Crone when they had no idea what the time frame was and he just kind of randomly came back. I knew that Olivares could be returning, but I wanted to get Zach Geloff because I thought his speed impact was potentially higher. But yeah, I do like Edward Olivares. Between he and Julks, again, I think if I need the more guaranteed PT, I think that is going to go to Olivares right now. So I would lean that way.
sure.
Although he's played 2 of 3 since returning, and his one sit was against a lefty. This dude can't even get regular burn
They
against the lefties.
they can't send him down anymore, but they hate him. They still
Is
hate
Edward
him.
Olivares? I don't know what nationality is. I was going to just say whatever his nationality is for Jason Mott, but I botched it
Mhm.
because I don't know where he's from. But for those that don't know, a Mott-like intensity, Venezuelan.
Mhm.
So it's Venezuelan for Jason Mott because they hate him with a Mott-like intensity, and that's a very deep cut reference
It is.
only for old people. So if you're
Yeah.
young, fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. Let's stay with Houston as we go to 3 down. Jeremy Pena. Now, this was a guy I had some problems with coming into the season. I was really nervous about his plate skills. You look at the power speed, 22 homers, 11 steals last year. That was great. He's on Houston, a good team, so people were excited. I had my nerves. And I don't bring that up just to be like, see, I told you. Just pointing out where I was on him at the beginning of the year. There's plenty of guys where we say, I love this guy and he sucks now, or vice versa. But this one, I think the writing was on the wall. He does have 10 homers and 8 steals, sure, but it comes with a 669 OPS. And lately, 137 plate appearances, 211, 263, 281 with 2 homers and 2 steals. That's since the beginning of June for Jeremy Pena. Are you holding him in where are you holding Jeremy Pena? How about that? Let's narrow it down that way.
I mean, I'm definitely holding him in 15s, just like looking at like my main event wire. Like I'm
Okay.
not dropping him for
So let's move to
Luis
12s then.
Renifo. All right, so moving to, I'm just gonna pick a random 12 teamer in my main event. I would be okay moving on for like Zach Neto.
Yep. Me
Um,
too.
I think Luis Garcia's interesting, but I just don't know if there's enough fantasy juice to
You
move.
you've liked him for a minute.
Geraldo Perdomo, I worry about the long term playing time, so I think I'd probably just stick with Pena.
Wait, who's going to
Uh,
play over Perdomo?
I think they're gonna. I think if they add, they could add at shortstop, or they could bring up Jordan Lawler.
That's interesting. I don't think that I think they love Perdomo. I will
I think
disagree on
Perdomo
his
is
playing time
better
this
as
year.
like a super utility infielder.
I can see
Uh,
that. I can see that being a better deployment of Perdomo, but they're not even playing Nick Ahmed over him really. It's kind of a 2-to-1 playing time situation with those two. But okay, so that you got some concerns on Perdomo.
uh,
Um,
JP
Anybody else?
Crawford,
I would
Oswald
keep Pena
Peraza.
there.
I think,
Oh, Josh Donaldson to the 60 day. So we had talked about
yeah,
that a little
yeah,
bit on
his
Monday.
career is over.
I tend to agree with. And we had some positivity to say about Peraza. Does that obviously make you more positive now that Donaldson's on
Yeah,
the 60 day?
yeah, because I mean, at worst, you're going to get stolen bases from him, and I think he should be a better hitter than he's shown
I think so too.
previously in the minor or in the major leagues. So, I don't think he's a guy that lights the world on fire. But if you're looking for speed, right now, I think Peraza is probably one of those guys that is available on a lot of wires. That he's going to play every day. We know he can run. They've even let him off at times. So, Peraza is definitely a pickup.
Totally agree. Totally agree with that. With Oswald Peraza. All right, so that's Pena. This next one, man, this is high end. Byron Buxton has a 582 OPS since May 1st. 159, 259, 322, 8 homers and steals in his last 212 plate appearances. So when you're getting any production, there is some fantasy juice, right? 8 and 8, that's something, but is it worth it, man? The composite line is 15 homers, 8 steals, and a 193 average. Where you at on Byron Buxton? Is he a cut in 10s, maybe 12s?
I don't think you can cut him. Like he's just too talented of a
So
player.
bad right now, dude. He's striking out like you wouldn't believe.
And it's amazing because, like, what have we always said about a guy like Buxton? It's like, well, he's on the field, like, per plate appearance, he's really, really good.
Yep.
And he's just not right now. And the underlying skills aren't great. I mean, you're talking like an 80%, maybe 81% zone contact, almost 15% swing and strike rate since May 1st.
37% K rate since his latest return from the IL, which is 108 plate appearances in 28 games.
Now, he also has a 189 BABIP since May 1st.
Okay. But, and that's fair to bring up. Then you have to kind of go to that next level of like how much is that of that is on Byron Buxton because of his poor contact and his poor ability to be consistent and his 32% K rate, right? So like some of it's probably on him, some of it's probably some bad luck with the 189 OPS BABIP for Byron Buxton. So you sure you're still holding in 10s?
I think I am.
Man.
I can understand dropping, but he should probably be rostered somewhere. It doesn't necessarily need to be on your team, but he probably should be rostered. He's one of those guys that could legitimately, if you're in a head-to-head league, he could win you your playoffs. If you're in a roto league, he could just carry your team for the end of the month. Like if he hits 20 home runs the rest of the way, are we going to be surprised?
No, not. I mean, that's the thing. Buxton's talent is such that, like you said, he can carry. You mentioned the name Jake McCarthy earlier. Buxton can really go full McCarthy, and with more pop even, but like just be that second half god.
Buxton is 62 plate appearances away from the most amount of plate appearances he's had in a season since 2017.
Buxton's 83% at Yahoo. Jake Fraley, who rakes daily, is 68%. I would make that move.
I can understand making that move.
I love Buxton. I want him to be great. I don't think I'm going too preemptive here. You're right that he can be a game changer. If he got going and the BABIP came in order and he got the K rate under 30, it is not difficult to envision.
Yeah.
But it's July 21st, man, and I need some performance. I'm taking Jake Fraley rakes daily all day. What about Luke Raley while we're rhyming things? He's only 62% rostered. Now, he doesn't bring the speed component as much. But also, neither does Buxton, really. It's 8 for the year. Those 8 since May 1st. Those are his 8 all year. He has 8 for 8, but he's very selective with his running. Does Raley do anything for you with what he's been doing with the Rays in a 10-teamer for Buxton?
Yeah, I mean, Raley's playing every day.
He's just forced his way in. He's just been so damn good. They're like, I got to play, bro.
And
I don't know if he called Cash bro, but it'd be cool if he did. Listen, bro, I got to play.
He's hitting third, like, a lot. Like, they definitely bounce him around the lineup a little bit. But, I mean, he's mostly hitting third in that lineup. Yeah, I think you've got to go with Raley. Oh, man, that's so weird.
I think there's going to be a handful of guys out there in 10s and 12s that are going to be available that you're going to have to make a really hard decision with Buxton. Now, you might have an easier cut.
His skills, it's so funny because you look at, like, the underlying skills on Buxton and the underlying skills on Raley, they're the same. They're not good.
A lot of swing and miss for Raley, too?
Yeah, so, like, Raley has a 19% swinging strike rate.
Mm-hmm. That's huge for those that don't know. That's very big.
Usually, rough, way of getting a strikeout rate is doubling swinging strike rate. So 19% is 38% strikeout rate.
That's
80% zone contact, which is 5% below league average. Swings outside of the zone about a little over a third of the time, which isn't atrocious, but not great either. He's just swinging a lot in the zone to kind of, hey, I'm going to miss a lot, but I'm also going to hit a lot. So, I mean, I think Raley will fall apart at some point.
Might not be till next year, though.
But, yeah, I mean, I think
he might run out the clock.
Yeah, you got to roll with it until it happens. Yeah, 353 BABIP, like, that's just not sustainable. So,
Hey, when you hit
I don't know.
hard, you can maintain a higher than normal BABIP, but yeah, maybe
Yeah,
353
but
is a little outsized there.
315 is like, I think
Yeah,
more of
315 would
a
be a good number. No, that's fair. I like Rayleigh though. Just check your wire. I don't think you have to universally hold Buxton without any further analysis. I think you should see what's up. And if Fraley's out there, I'm definitely making the move. You guys know I've been
Mhm.
on Fraley's train for a while. Last one here in 3 down, Ty France. You know, Justin, this player type is a little bit of a quiet killer in fantasy because it kind of sneaks up on you. In fact, he's put up 3 months of 700s OPS, ranging as high as 783, as low as 702, and it's just kind of meandering. And then this month, 14 games so far, but it's a 350 OPS with a 152 BABIP. It's really cratered, so that makes it look a lot worse, of course. But I wonder if we needed this kick in the pants here of the bad July to expose the fact that Ty France has been so bland prior to this point. So his last 20 games, you're looking at a 120, 185, 147 line with 3 runs batted in. Does this cold streak expose that there's just not enough juice to be holding Ty France? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think there's just not enough fantasy juice, especially for 10s and 12s. But I mean, even in 15s, he does get a fair amount of runs scored, 54 runs scored on the year. But there's just so little power. There's virtually no speed at all. He's got one stolen base on the year. And I mean, even I think Radek Telez has a stolen base. So, like, not, the only person who doesn't have a stolen base this year is like Daniel Vogelbach.
Oh, poor Danny. He could play more with Marte out.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know if they're, especially if right now, if you're looking for a guy who can help you make moves in anything other than batting average, because
Yep.
I do think he can, I do think he can hit for a good batting average.
He could get
Yeah.
hot, and France could hit 300 plus the rest of the way without even blinking. I don't think that's certainly possible.
Yeah, I
But
mean, his batting, his XBA is 261. So, like, he should
yeah,
be hitting 260, 270 like he normally does. Or actually, oh God, he hit 291, 305 the last 2 years. So maybe he got lucky those years, getting a little unlucky this year.
I mean, his biggest change for France has been against righties. 789 OPS last year with a 275 average, down to 644, 226 this year. And it's only, I mean, it is a 19-point BABIP move, which I was gonna say only. That's something, but it's also not crazy. It's gone from 284 to 263. It's not that alone for France, the BABIP drop. Like the production just isn't there. He's not striking the ball as well against righties, and obviously that's who you face the most. And so it's been really hard to kind of hold him.
Yeah, and one of the issues with him is he's always been an aggressive hitter in the zone, but he's become more aggressive out of the zone this year, which I think is one of the reasons why the batting average has kind of plummeted down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and he's seeing more pitches in the zone. So, like, he's being more aggressive out of the zone while he's seeing more pitches in the zone, and he's being less aggressive in the zone this year. So, like, I don't know. Like, this almost feels like he's got some sort of sight issue because he's just not seeing the ball nearly as well as he has the last 2 years. Maybe this is just regression catching up with him, but I don't know. Is he even rosterable in a 15 at this point? Like,
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sure he's 100% rostered in the main event, but like, I don't know that he should be. Like, 7 home runs in, like, what? I mean, how many plate appearances does he have? Like, close to 400.
Yeah, let me see.
399.
Yeah, so literally right there.
Like, that's not that's
That's
not
bland as hell
rosterable.
for Ty
Yeah,
France
like,
with a 247 average, especially.
I mean, you were talking about cutting Josh Naylor, who only had one category
Wait, wait.
deficit.
Damn it! No, scrub that. By the way, how lucky did I get? He goes and hits 2 homers. No, I was not. I had a friend disabuse me of that notion immediately,
Yeah.
and I insta flipped. I was like, no.
He's not only 100% rostered, he's being started in 83% of main
And
events.
this is exactly what I mean about Ty France and those hidden killers, because he's just kind of meandering along blandly, and even this cold streak only puts him down to a 688, which is bad, but it doesn't jump out to people like this guy is bad and not helping me in any format. And so, I mean, AL only, sure, that's a whole different bird. We don't always have to make that caveat. But what are we doing here? I'm at least sitting France in 15s. I would consider a cut though. I like him. I know he was a high draft pick. He was somebody that I was ready to buy back in on this year, but it's not there. And I don't think you can keep running this out. I think I'd go for somebody like well, he's 81% roster, but he happens to be available in my league. Like Chris Taylor has more fantasy heat, even
Yeah.
with his flaws. I think I'd rather go for him. Do you have any guys that you're looking at in your wire that you would take over France right now?
Let me.
Because I can come up with some more here. I mean, what about? I mean, I will say the pool is dry, but what about like a Ramon Urias who has 3 position eligibility?
Hmm.
He's hitting 259, 328, 400 with 4 homers, 3 steals. So it's not that different, but maybe you like the
How much
lineup
playing?
better.
How much? Yeah, I mean, how much playing time is Urias gonna have
It's a good question. Let me
with?
look.
Like he's already like only playing like half the week.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see that. I see
So
that. Four out of the last 6 over at third, 1 at second. That's fair. I mean, maybe the 15-team situation with France is that it's been hard to find a
but like Wilmer
replacement,
Flores is only 62% rostered.
and
I mean,
obviously I would go for him. Yeah,
I think Flores, Soderstrom, like
and
he's
can I point out
available
also
in my main.
that France is 73% rostered at Yahoo, which is like 12 and 10s. So that's still too high.
Yeah,
So
that
even if you say, okay, you can keep him in 15s if you want right now, I don't get this 12-team love for Ty France. I would take
yeah,
Jamer
I don't
Candelario,
either.
Wilmer Flores, Michael Garcia, Jake Berger. Definitely those guys. Probably more, but those are
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
4 guys off the top. Okay, so be careful with Ty France. I think you got to start to look for some cuts in some shallower formats and at least assess, right? At least deep dive him and
Hmm.
say, is he one of the best guys for my team? Maybe that's still the case because you have a thin wire, but like he could be your cut for Christian Encarnacion Strand if you pick him up this week, I think.
I was just thinking that exact same thing.
So there you go. All right, let's talk about some potentially intriguing Week 18 steps. We're not going through all of them. Just picked 6 out for you to see if you're streaming them anywhere. Let's start with Dean Kramer in Baltimore. He's got, pardon me, let me get the matchups. Dean Kramer's got at Philly and home to the Yankees. That second one really not that scary. The judgeless Yankees in Camden, that's a decent setup. Trip to Philly, not great. Interesting thing about Dean Kramer is the K's are way up this year, up to 22%, which is still an uninspiring strikeout rate. But for him, it's super big. You picking up Dean Kramer anywhere for a 2-step stream?
Let's see. I want to double check where these games are. At Philly, ooh, that one scares the crap out of me.
That's the one that's scary. But I love New York at home because without Judge, they're so terrible.
Mm.
He's been
No,
scary.
actually, Kramer's actually been worse at home.
Oh, he has.
Like much worse. 4 ERA on the road, 5.43 ERA at home.
Wow. Do we think there's viability to that or like bad luck? Because he
I think
crushed at
that's.
home last year.
I feel like that's got to be bad luck. It's based on a few really bad
Ooh.
starts at home. The
And a
7 earned run versus Minnesota.
98-point BABIP difference too, home and away.
Oh, okay.
You picking him up in 15s, Dean Kramer?
I mean, I think he's probably a roster most of
That's
the
actually I was gonna check that. Sorry, let me see his roster rate.
that'd be my guess.
Oh yeah, he's 100%. Okay, what about 12s then for Dean Kramer?
I don't think so. That Philly start just is too scary for me.
That's fair. He's not high on this on the list here.
Yes.
Graham Ashcraft, is he luring us back in? He's been good for 4 straight quality starts. The strikeouts still aren't there. It's almost like he's realized, okay, I can't get strikeouts and have success. But he looks a lot better lately. Are you back in on Graham Ashcraft? He's got at Milwaukee, at the Dodgers. Well,
At
one
the
good, one
Dodgers.
bad.
But neither are really good parks.
I know, but Milwaukee, that's one of his quality starts in this 4-game run.
I streamed him in my main event against my own Giants, who were like super hot, and it worked out. Like I was screaming at it. Like the seventh inning started, and I was like, "Just pull him! Just
Oh my
please pull
God,
him! He's gone
yes.
6 innings and only given up 1 run. They gave up a home run, and they pulled him. It was like, oh, thank God, it was just a solo shot. Like,
Don't even bring him back out on that one, though. I agree. I was watching
yeah.
that game.
Uh,
12-team viability?
I think he is a 12-team straight up streamer.
Yeah,
and
where you can use him and then cut him.
Streamer, because like he gets so many ground balls. He's so dependent on just his defense behind him, which is okay. But
Scary,
when he doesn't put it on the ground, it can go over the fence really easy. So
yeah, and
in that park, that's so scary.
15% K rate. That's so brutal. Michael Grove, Toronto and Cincy both at home. So 2 tough lineups, both coming into Dodger Stadium. Does he have 15-team viability? The other 2 were 12-teamers, but Grove has more. He is, let me see. He is 42% rostered in 15. So this is a 15-team question with Michael Grove. What do you think?
Another tough one, and another guy I streamed in my main event this week.
Nice.
Had a really nice start. Man, I'm gonna have some real tough decisions going into.
You're realizing that the decisions are piling up.
I'm gonna have to probably play 2 of Michael Grove, Graham Ashcraft, and Michael Kopech.
Oh, Kopech, dude, don't even get me started.
Sitting on my bench, dude. Oh, why? Why does he do this to me? And I know it's fraudulent. I don't have enough time to like go on a Michael.
Yeah,
Kopech.
but I know that the next time you start him, he will kick you right in the teeth.
Oh, because he still walked 4 guys.
That's the thing.
In 5 innings.
He didn't even fix his problem.
The majors in walks, 57 walks. I'm not even looking this up. I know how many walks he's got.
I haven't regretted cutting him. I will say that. I cut him a long time ago, Michael Kopech, and I have not regretted it. But anyway, so you like Grove for 15s? You picking him up?
Yeah, I am. I definitely am going to be a little careful about my starts, and this is a pretty tough 2-step, so I don't know that I'm necessarily starting him, but I felt like he was having some small sample kind of unluckiness, and that things were going to even out if he got an opportunity. And the injuries that the Dodgers had have given him the opportunity. I think there's a really good chance he sticks in the rotation, and maybe Sheehan moves to the bullpen or goes back down to the minors if and when they get healthy, or add guys at the deadline. So I like Grove. I'm at least sticking with him until I know what the Dodgers are doing at the deadline. Maybe they block him off and he goes back down. But for right now, I'm sticking with him on my rosters, not necessarily in my lineup.
Team streamer for sure. If I can avoid this week with those 2 starts against Toronto and Cincy for Michael Grove, I will do that. Christopher Sanchez, my guy, pumped him up on Monday. Baltimore and at Pittsburgh. I'm in on this one. What about you? 15s, 12s, where are you at on Christopher Sanchez?
I mean, he's just been so good. Like, I think he's in all formats.
15s, he's 100%. So 12s for Sanchez?
12s and 10s, I think, right now.
Yeah, I think there's viability to go for 10s and 12s as well. And then the last one, 2 more. Aaron Savali, KC, and at the White Sox. I think that's an easy scoop. Probably one of the best of the bunch.
Savali's been bad, though. And there's no strikeouts.
No, he hasn't been bad. He's right. No. 5 earned in his last 4 combined. No Ks, you're right. 3, 2, 9, weirdly. And then 2.
All right, yeah. And I mean, Kansas City is just atrocious. Michael Lorenzen just carved up Kansas City again.
All-star Michael Lorenzen, thank you very much.
Yeah. I can't.
Mouth.
He's so easy to write my sell high article for next week because Michael Lorenzen is going to be in bold on that one.
You just put Michael Lorenzen. You don't put anything else. You know why. Steven Matz, your boy from a couple years ago at Arizona, home to the Cubs. He's back in the rotation. He got the devil magic sprinkled on him. Does he have a second half run in him? Steven Matz. You don't have to commit to the second half, by the way. I'm just asking for the 2-step.
The changeup was really, really good last night. He had a 50% CSW, I think, on it, which is unreal.
He was the guy we've all fallen in love with last night at the Cubs.
He absolutely was. However, he's still pretty much a 2-pitch guy. that when he loses command of, especially the changeup, but just either one of his pitches, all of a sudden, like, he is worthless, and that can happen. Like, he has been one of the unluckier pitchers in baseball, but I still think that there is a lot of risk. So I would say team streamer, at home, in that good park with a good defense behind him, I can understand, but like, don't be like, oh, he's my dude to carry me.
My changer. Yeah, my game changer.
Definitely not your changer.
12s, do you like at our Arizona, Chicago? Because he's not that available in 15s. Is Matz somebody that would you go Matz or Grove in a 12?
Grove, Cincinnati, and Toronto. I think I'm going Matz here.
And then Matz or Ashcraft in a 12?
I think I am going Ashcraft.
I think so too. So my order is Sanchez, Savale, Ashcraft, Matz, Grove, Kramer.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
So we're in agreement there. All right. A little rapid fire there to end it. Episode is in the books. What do you got planned for Sunday, if anything?
Hopefully I'll be able to go with Jason. That
Okay.
is the plan at this point. So I apologize. I really wanted to do a Sunday episode last week, but I was just too exhausted when I came back from vacation.
Yeah, that was coming off of your trip. That's no problem there. And obviously next week we'll have our normal episodes. The week after, the deadline's on August 1st again instead of July 31st. We will do an episode kind of previewing it, kind of seeing what's going on, maybe if there's been some trades before that. And then on August 1st, I will be doing a stream again with Nick Pollock, and we might have you on. You're being a guest on Joe Rico's deadline show, which he's going to be doing. It has a great lineup, so check that one out as well. But come through, check out both of ours. But yeah, we will talk next week. And coming down the stretch, we might have some extra episodes come in to help you bring home those titles. I know you're working on several titles. So have a great weekend. Talk to you later.
Take it easy.